Hello there. Chatbots and voice assistants are one of the most important tools in today's and especially in tomorrow's world. But who are the people behind them? The conversation designers. My name is Eran Soroka, head of marketing for CocoHub.ai. In today's episode, we're traveling to Bangalore, India to talk with a special guest, Aishwarya Kamath, conversation design team lead for wysa, an AI-based mental health and life coach. How are you, Aisha?
Hi, Ran. I'm doing well. How are you? I hope the pandemic has not been harsh on you and your family. I hope you're safe.
We just got the two shots and now we're feeling better. Um, First of all, how did you get into conversation design?
That's a very interesting question. I think when I started, I was doing an equivalent of CPA. I'm a commerce graduate. I think what US has a CPA, we have something called a CA here. And I was trying to navigate those waters. Initially, I did my training for 2 months with a CA, trying to learn the job and what is that like on a day to day. And 2 months down the line, I realized, oh my God, this is not for me. Definitely, there's so much numbers and there's so much documentation and there's so much to do on a day to day, which is I felt like I can't handle. And then I started navigating my second best bet, which is I thought I could do well in writing. So I started looking for internships when I stumbled on wysa and joined there as a content writer. And that role completely evolved into something else because on the job day to day we did the stuff that AI trainers did, and then AI training slowly evolved into something else which is now called as conversation design. It's been an amazing journey just being there and seeing wysa grow and my growth in that direction as well.
It's very exciting indeed. What's the bot or the project that you're most proud of?
I think when I joined wysa had a capability of listening to a lot of different domains, but it was most passive in nature. When I mean passive, it used to not respond back when you understand those domains. Right now, there's something we worked on, which has moved from passive listening to active listening, where wysa makes you feel heard, makes you feel like you get what you're saying. Like user talks about relationship and wysa is able to pick that up and say, hey, I know relationships are complicated, I know stuff, hang in there, it'll get better. Just acknowledging the user based on that active listening is, I think, my proudest project so far in wysa.
Which leads me to the next question. Who are the users of mental health chatbots and what are the main topics they're talking about?
I think the trend so far, or as for what we see, we at a population level, we are able to see that people talk a lot about relationships on a day-to-day, conflicts, arguments, how to navigate that thin line between personal, professional, work stress, or relation things, or managing relationships between colleagues, and sleep issues are also at the height of it. So those are a few things that generally users talk about on our platform. So
Which leads me to what else can you talk us about wysa, like the company, the users, how many users, what you can see?
yeah, so wysa is, for those who don't know, it's a mental health chatbot. It helps you through your emotional health journey. It makes sure that you're taking care of yourself. It's someone you can reach out to at 4 a.m. in the night when you're in that negative thought spiral. So you can talk it down. You can put yourself to a calm sleep from a position of feeling anxious about what's tomorrow like, right? wysa helps you get there and does that for you. So far, we've had 3.5 plus million users on both iOS and Google Play. We've had massive amount of good ratings, that is 4.8 plus ratings on both Google Play and Apple Play Store. I mean, it's been it's been one hell of a ride, and that
Impressive.
validation helps us on a day to day. Yeah.
Mhm. Availability, as you said, like it can be there for you at 4 a.m. is a good thing, one of the best advantages of chatbots. But what is the most important thing when you build a chatbot?
To my team of conversation designers who I have at wysa, I tell them it's three E's of conversation design. It's making sure it's effective. That means users get to where they want to be, and making sure that the conversation is helpful when they get there. The second is easy, keeping the language very simple, nothing about sixth grade language, no complicated words, making sure everybody understands what's going on, right? And the third one is making sure it's empathetic. I think it's also the core of what wysa is. Non-judgmental and empathy are something that you need to really put yourself in the shoe of a user and walk that journey with them. That's something that we like to do.
You talk. That's quite fun because you're talking about put yourself as the shoes of somebody else, but actually it's a chatbot. It can't even wear shoes. So when we talk about empathy, which is so crucial in your field, how do you turn a bot into being involved in an empathetic conversation?
I think on a day-to-day, our processes for writing any conversation starts from that needs assessment, going through looking at core data of what it is like for a user and walking that journey of what they're talking about and translating that into the bot. That's the first step. And as we write that bot, we do steps like conversational tests, which is like Wizard of Oz. You would generally have a phone call that happens and you just try that out conversationally with a couple of colleagues. And we have made sure that in our process, we at least 3 people who we have on board feel that this conversation is good to go to the development stage. Even from the script phase of it, we make sure that it's there, that the empathy is there and it's approved by 3-4 people. Sorry.
And how often do you review the logs and like change the way the bot speaks upon those logs?
So that's a interesting process because every time you make a change, we go in there, we check whether that change has made an impact, whether that thing has turned out to be as expected. We test that hypothesis, we come back, oh, this is not working, so let's try something else. Let's make sure that it actually impacts the user the way we want it to, or it's helpful the way we designed it to be, right? I think it's a part of any product development. That's why when I say when you're designing a conversation, you're not actually just writing for that conversation. You're going back there, looking at data, making those changes, making sure that what you deliver to the end user is really helpful.
Yeah, it sounds like. Can it be a substitute for a human psychologist, in your opinion, or just an extension?
Absolutely not. I think this is a common question that everybody asks for wysa. Are you trying to replace human therapists? I think it works as a hand, it goes hand in hand, right? As a therapist, you can't be there for somebody 24/7. But as a chatbot, what you can help the user go through is try this when you're feeling really anxious. Here's something that you can do when you're at that moment, but you can't get hold of a therapist, right? It's some form of aid that you can provide along with a therapist. It's like a coach that talks to you.
What's the most interesting or funny thing that happened to you as a conversation designer? I believe that in your case, you have pretty awesome stories.
Actually, funny, I don't know, but I think when I started, it was really scary in a way to look at actual user data. I mean, we don't know who said what, but we do know at a population level, this is what users are talking about, right? And I think initially when I joined as an AI trainer there, we were working on some of the risky models like SOS or abuse. And we have daily stand-ups where we say, today I worked on this or that. So I think in one of the stand-ups, we said, today I worked on sexual abuse, and that came out really wrong. But in context, we were actually working on refining that model, making sure that conversations, escalating the user to helplines and all of that. But when we were talking about it in the stand-up, it came out so wrong. It also feels like one of those things that gives us meaning to what we do, right? Where our purpose is in the end to solve for accessibility in all. wysa allows us to keep that accessibility open to all users.
Mm-hmm. Actually, like yesterday, somebody asked my onboarding bot to prepare pizza. So I think, like, the gap between the expectations and the reality is like still not what
Right,
it's
right.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
What tips can you give to aspiring conversation designers, people that are interested in this field, and also what are the core skills we use in our day-to-day jobs as a conversation designers?
I think that's a very good question. Let me just think about it a little bit. Um, I think one thing that you should not be afraid when you're starting out as a conversation designer is to dip your hands in wear multiple hats. Basically, you can do a little bit of tech, you can do a little bit of designing the conversation, you can actually do a little bit of storyboarding for the conversation. But I think what I've seen in my new recruits, or they feel hesitant to dip their hands in data or do that analysis themselves, or do a little bit of tech so you get an understanding of how those teams can work together better. So I think one thing is, don't be afraid to venture out in those roles if you have to. It's fun. And I think the second thing is, what core skills that they use on a day-to-day, right? In our teams, one we use is something we call as storyboarding, where you write down the scripts and walk the users path with them and write for each use case. And the other bit is data analysis in some sort, like qualitative, even if not quantitative, just reading through data and understanding what are different patterns like, and what are you writing for, who are these users and what are they saying, right? And Excel, of course, helps you do that. I think I used to be extremely scared of numbers until I discovered this whole journey you can take with Excel. It really, really makes your life easy. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm also like a friend of numbers, but then I review the logs and another logs and another log.
Yeah,
It doesn't end.
yeah.
This thing doesn't end. All right.
Tell me about it.
So even maybe before the chatbots can start making pizzas on their own, give me like one thought or a forecast of yours about the future of conversation.
I won't go too futuristic because the world is changing so rapidly, especially now we've evolved into remote work, this and that, right? So my prediction, at least for the near future, is that one, conversation design will make us go off screen, and that adoption from off screen into some other platforms. Voice is already there, but AR or things like that. That's one area where I see. And especially for mental health, I see preventative mental health becoming a little more big as we go forward. And as and when the stigma around mental health is scraped off slowly, I think preventative mental health care is definitely something that is going to go big, and AI is going to play a huge role in that as well.
Okay, that was fascinating. Great insights. Aishwarya Kamath, Conversation Design Team Lead for wysa, thank you very much for being
Thank
here.
you so much, Ilan. Thank you.
And for everybody watching or listening, check out cocohub.ai, where you and every viewer, listener, or just any other random people you see in the street can build a bot with a human touch on video, voice, and text easily and without any coding knowledge. So thank you for listening. Take care.